I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is an open meeting of the Seward, Nebraska governing body. The city of Seward abides by the Nebraska Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is displayed on the north wall of this meeting room facility as required. Disclosure of meeting recording processes is posted in the meeting room. Any citizen may address the council regarding items included on the meeting agenda and are asked to complete and submit a speaker card to the clerk prior to the meeting. The mayor will call speakers to the podium when the item is being considered. Presenters shall approach the podium, state their name and address for the clerk's record. Their act limit remarks to 5 minutes. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor, who shall determine by whom any appropriate response shall be made. The city of Seward reserves the right to adjust the order of items on this agenda if necessary and may elect to take action on any of the items listed. Please call the roll.
Kaler.
Here.
Coulterman.
Present.
Singleton.
Here.
Streisand.
Here.
Tanyas.
Here.
Morgan. Here. We have a quorum present.
Thank you. First 3 items this evening make up the consent agenda.
I'll move it.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanyas, Coulterman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Alright, public hearing this evening at 7 p.m. is Class J liquor license application of Bud's Flower Shop LLC, doing business as Merle's Flower Shop, 626 Seward Street. Derek.
Yeah, so, about 2 weeks ago now, we got a request from the state to review a new liquor license. And, as we do for any new liquor license, we have to do a public hearing. Or, it was actually a month ago, because we actually put this out a while ago, so, sorry, getting mixed up with another one. So it came out a month ago, we put it in the paper, obviously, put all the public notices out. So required by the state, we need to do a public hearing. You know, we had a amount of time to hear any, basically disagreement with approving it, and no one said anything on it, so we're good to go. It's a Class J liquor license, which basically means, alcoholic liquor, including beer, for consumption off the premises. So, it's pretty limited in scope for the liquor license. So basically tonight, all we'll do is, have a public hearing. There's a resolution to approve it, should you wish, and then, there'll be consideration of the request to recommend Stephanie Luby as a manager of the liquor license for the facility. We have the applicant, Mrs. Luby, here, if she'd wanna kinda speak to what they're planning on doing.
Sure, thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, Stephanie Luby, on behalf of Merle's Flower Shop at 626 Seward Street. Many flower shops sell roses and rosé, and that's one of the things that we are just wanting to do, modernize our assortment a little bit. The Class J liquor license allows us to affordably apply for a liquor license and sell wine or other alcoholic beverages with our fresh flowers. And so I'm sure many of you have a lady in your life who would love fresh flowers, and she'd probably even love it more if you send a bottle of wine with it. And so that is what our goal is to do, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? It is a public hearing, so I'll let the public comment portion of the public hearing. Anyone from the public wishes to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Seeing no one wishing to speak, I will close the public comment portion of the public hearing, return to the council for any further discussion. As was mentioned, item 1A is the resolution recommending the approval, and then B will be the approval of the manager.
I'll introduce the resolution.
Alright. The resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2024-29. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanyas, Coulterman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
As for item 1B, consideration of a request to recommend Stephanie Luby as manager of Class J liquor license for Merle's Flower Shop.
Move approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Taylor, Tanyas, Coltman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay, but don't feel like you have to.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too, thank you. Under administrative items, number one, consideration of a request from the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission on behalf of Squire Awards LLC to allow for an addition to the existing liquor license to include basement of existing area, which is one located at 133 North 6th Street, and adjacent building outdoor area of 127 North 6th Street. Derek.
Yeah, so with this one, we've got a request, I think it was last week. With this one, it's a little different because it's an existing liquor license. With a new one, like I said, you have to put it out there and make sure people have time to comment whether you should or shouldn't approve it. This one's an existing one and it's through Squire Awards, so we approved that one a few years ago. Basically, this is for an addition to the existing liquor license. Mr. Nelson's here, so he can speak to kind of what his plans are. And basically, all the state's looking for is just an approval from us saying, yep, we're good with it. City reviewed the request, Tim Dworak with the building zoning department, and also Chief Peters, they look at all this kind of stuff and they were good with it, no issues with it, and obviously we'd request that it gets approved, but I'll have Mr. Nelson speak to his plans.
Hi guys, Greg Nelson, Squire Awards. It's kind of a two-part process here that we are including the basement of the existing Squire Awards. It's always been a part of the lease space and everything, but we didn't note it, kind of inadvertently didn't note it on the actual liquor license application the first time around. So all we're doing is adding that to the licensed area so we can actually store liquor down there. We've got a secure room built and it's a good out of the way place to store it, and the liquor commission is fine with that. We're just kind of going through the motions here with that part. The other part is the building next door, 127 North 6th. It used to be Christie's Om Shanti Yoga Studio. We have secured a lease on that, including the outdoor space. That's the lot that we did last year. We've leased the outdoor space previously, but now we've added the building itself since she was done in there. We would just like to expand our operation into that. We're gonna run everything out of the Squire Awards kitchen, and basically it works like a large new dining room, which will help us a lot.
Great, thank you, Greg. Any other questions or comments from the council?
I have one.
Yes.
The outdoor area, is it an area that can be pardoned off or to allow, access? And is it like a fenced-in area? Or is it?
It is a fenced-in area. The outdoor space has been part of our license for a while.
Yeah.
So it's fenced in. There's a gate there that opens kind of sideways, but basically onto the alley there. That has to, by the liquor commission rules, that has to be a one-way gate, emergency car going out, but no access coming in unless we have someone there checking IDs, which we normally don't. So it's just a one-way gate. Other than that, you have to get through it coming through the bar.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing.
Any other questions or comments from the council? I believe this just requires a simple motion.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Taylor, Tanyas, Coltman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Item 2, consideration of resolution approving a street closure crossing Highway 15 for Seward County Chamber and Development Partnership Christmas Festival Annual Lighted Christmas Parade on November 30th, 2024. Derek.
Yeah, so this is the same basic item as that we've had for a number of years now. The Saturday after Thanksgiving, so we have Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and then Saturday after that. Traditionally has been the time where there's been a festival here in Seward. They're just hoping to do their annual lighted parade. Nothing with the route changes or anything like that. Since it does cross over Highway 15, we just need to get the state's approval. So that's why we put it on the agenda now, just so I can get it to them. They've been very fast in turning around the approvals on that, so I should be able to hear something back relatively quick. but just kind of, you know, we have to have that resolution in place and have a draft of the minutes, and just the okay from the city council, and they're usually okay with it, so. Nothing as far as details or route or anything like that is changing, it's the same thing as it's been for a number of years now.
I'll introduce the resolution.
Alright. The resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2024-30. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
I so move.
Second.
The motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Colterman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Item 3, consideration of a claim from Phil Seward, owner of property at 242 North 8th Street for property damage in the amount of $3,500. Correct.
Yeah, you can see the claim form there. This is in relation to the water tower project. Between some welding that was done and also the sandblasting to sandblast the outside. Mr. Friedrich is claiming some damages there. I did speak with Kelly on this claim today. Recommendation is to forward it on to attorney and our insurance for disposition. I'm guessing we may have a few other ones that will come about from this process, so we're trying to keep track of that and work with McGuire Iron and their subcontractors in regards to trying to mitigate as much as we can. But we can't always be on top of those subs. But so we'll forward it on and see where we get and follow up with McGuire as well. Does that work, Connor?
That works.
There you go.
Any questions or comments from the council, or someone like to make a motion?
So moved. Second.
The motion to forward on to the attorney and insurance, seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display your votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Colterman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Item 4, Seward Foundation application. We have 4A, Seward Memorial Library, games galore.
Becky.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Did I say that with enough excitement?
Thank you.
I could do better? No, me.
No,
Games
him.
galore. Galore, I didn't know how.
We like alliteration at the
I
library.
can see that.
Towards the end of our budget year, I always ask my staff if there's any money, what would you like to purchase? And Jacqueline Schranz, if you know her, very creative, does Artscaper, and said, we need more kids' board games. And I said, what's your list look like? And she said, about 70. I said, oh, that's not an end of the budget year, that's a grant. So that's the reason for this. We're going, asking the Nebraska Library Commission, the Friends, the Library Foundation, and then the Seward Foundation. Besides the game purchases, we also purchase Sterilite tubs that we have them go to homes and back, so the board game box doesn't get destroyed. So that adds a lot to the cost as well. Most of our games that we have, Jacqueline has got donated from the game manufacturers themselves. We have spent budget money on the Sterilite boxes, but we have not purchased games. And so then you just get what they give you. Jacqueline's list is more curated and educational, better quality, probably. That's the reason for the grant request. Any questions?
Any questions or comments from the council? Yes,
I
Rich.
appreciate the chance for people to actually check them out and take them home, because I know there's a demand for that.
Yes, yeah. One of the community needs was more activities for families to do together, so that's a way we can help fill that need.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I think this would also just require a simple motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I believe this is technically, we're recommending this to.
Yep, and the foundation will vote on it
So the
ultimately.
motion would be to recommend approval to the foundation. And a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Colterman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Thank you. Item 5, discussion regarding future burials at the 4th edition of the Seward Cemetery. Great.
Yeah, this is kind of an odd one. The cemetery board at their last meeting voted, pursuant to a discussion, the 4th edition, by the review of the rules that are included in your packet, you would note that there's nothing specific about vets other than vet stones and markers can be included in the area and what stylings and things like that. Apparently, way back when though, they had adopted informally
that some of these spaces were veteran spaces. But that was never formalized anywhere, and I don't believe anybody in recent memory has been put in this area. And so the discussion came back up at the cemetery board, now that we do have a veteran section, specifically for veterans, that these areas of fourth edition could be relieved back to being available for anyone, which you wouldn't know unless somebody told you, because I went through the rules and there's nothing in the rules in the fourth edition that says you can't do it. But they felt uncomfortable enough that they didn't want to change anything without going through the formal process of cemetery board and then giving the city council heads up on what was going on. So that was the impetus. But again, you can see them, it's only a page and a half long. When you read through there, there's nothing about a specific designated lots, plots, anything that are designated for veterans, so.
What's the guidance on this?
The recommendation of the cemetery board was to, allow for approval, just open up the lots for all uses. Even though there's technically no rule change, because so. It's more an informality, but at least it's documented somewhere in case somebody came back and asked, that we did run it up the chain of command, and have formal discussions both with the cemetery board and the city council.
I'll make the recommendation to approve, to open it up. I don't know how you want me to word that.
That's perfect.
And I second it.
There's a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Taylor, Tanya, Coltrane, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Alright, item 6, consideration of an engineering services agreement with Short Elliott Hendrickson, SEH Incorporated for the wastewater treatment facility improvements soil surcharge project in the amount of $50,535. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you very much. So this is a brief agreement here, 3 pages in length, a single page exhibit, and 2 pages of general conditions. This is for engineering services while we do the soil surcharge project of the wastewater plant. We recently awarded and issued a notice to proceed for that project. They do anticipate getting started soon, installing this fall the storm sewer adjustments that have to be made to get it out of the way, and then we're going to build up a large 12-15 foot tall mound of dirt to preload the soil where the future tankage will go for the new wastewater plant. It has to be in place for 6 months. And so for the amount estimated to be $50,535, this is on an hourly basis. We essentially will get part-time services, 3 days a week, 4 hours a day, roughly watching, essentially pipe laid, make sure it follows the specifications and the plan, and then the dirt built up in the spring. Essentially, if there's proper compaction, there's some survey equipment that measures exactly how much the soil has subsided, which is important. And effectively, what this does is provide those engineering services to ensure that the plans are and specifications have been adhered to by the contractor.
Alright, Mike, thank you. Any questions or comments from the council?
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Taylor, Tanya, Coltrane, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Alright, thank you, Mike. Item 7, consideration of an ordinance amending the municipal code, initiating an electric rate adjustment, increasing total system revenues by 3%, effective with October 2024 billing. Greg?
Yes, this is the rate increase that was included in your approved budget, 3% on electric. It will be in effect for the October 2024 billing cycle. I can answer any questions you have, so.
Move to approve.
This one's gonna be an ordinance, so
Oh,
if
sorry.
you'd like to introduce the ordinance, you should.
I'll introduce the ordinance.
Alright. An ordinance to amend sections 237-3.1 through 237-3.13 of the municipal code to to initiate an electric rate adjustment that will increase total system revenues generated by rates charged to customers for services from the electric distribution system of the city by 3% effective with the October 2024 and January 2025 billings, to provide for billing thereof, to repeal the original sections 237-3.1 through 237-3.13, to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. The ordinance has been read by title and is designated as ordinance number 2024-17, and the title is hereby approved. I need a motion to dispense with the statutory rule.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
This is ordinance number 2024-17. Would anyone like to move that this ordinance be passed and adopted as read?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. The question is, shall ordinance number 2024-17 be finally passed and adopted? Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Thank you. Item 8, consideration of an ordinance amending the municipal code, initiating a water rate adjustment, increasing total system revenues by 3%, effective with October 2024 billing.
Yes, same as the last one, a 3% increase on water. This was also included in your 2024-25 fiscal year budget. Answer any questions you have.
I'll introduce.
An ordinance to amend section 390-1.26 of the municipal code to initiate a water rate adjustment that will increase total system revenues generated by rated charged to customers for service from the water system of the city by 3% effective with the October 2024 and January 2025 billings, to provide for billing thereof, to repeal the original section 390-1.26, to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. The ordinance has been read by title and designated as ordinance number 2024-18, and the title is hereby approved. I need a motion to dispense with the statutory rule.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
This is ordinance number 2024-18. Would anyone like to move that this ordinance be passed and adopted as read?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall ordinance number 2024-18 be finally passed and adopted? Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Alright, thank you. Item 9, consideration of an ordinance amending the municipal code, initiating a sewer rate adjustment, increasing total system revenues by 15%, effective with October 2024 billing. Greg.
This is the big one, as we've done in years past, is recommended by both our rate studies and undertaking getting ready to build up funds and revenues to pay off bonded debt in relation to the wastewater treatment plant. So this is not the not fun one, but ultimately we have to keep on this path unless magically some grant money or other funds show up, which we'll continue to work on and work through the legislature, but we have to move forward with the functionality to get ourselves prepared to pay the amount of funds that we need to pay in to pay our debt service on this project as it gets going. So a 15% increase as noted in the fiscal year 24-25 budget. I can answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? I was asked one to introduce the
I'll
ordinance.
introduce the ordinance.
In ordinance to amend sections 325-8.1 through 325-8.3 of the municipal code to initiate a sewer rate adjustment that will increase total system revenues generated by rates charged to customers for service from the sewer system of the city by 15% effective with the October 24 billing, to provide for billing thereof, to repeal the original sections 325-8.1 through 325-8.3, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. The ordinance has been read by title and is designated as ordinance number 2024-19, and the title is hereby approved. I need a motion to dispense with the statutory rule.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Are we assuming that there's gonna be another hike after this or not?
We're doing the final rate study now with SEH. I think there's one more projected for us, but we're working through that. We have another call coming up here to review what they've given us, but,
That way we can kinda tell our taxpayers that, hey, there's more to come.
Well, this is technically a rate increase, so it's not.
I know, but,
It would be for those using the service as opposed to tax dollars.
I know, but it's still, looked at it as taxpayers are gonna have to pay more money out of their pocket, whoever.
yep. So, again, that's why it's so important for us to go out and try to find grant funds, cheap financing, things like that as we pursue through this project to keep this level down as much as possible and make it manageable. Yes?
Great. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when we started talking about this years ago and we knew the total cost, that we talked about 3 or 4 years of 15% increases
Yep.
to try to pay for this project. So this is no surprise, we're on year 4.
I think this is our fourth one.
Yeah,
But I mean, if we have another one, that's the issue.
right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think our challenge is, what's our alternative? We have to
I-
flush the
I know.
toilets.
But that way, they know, if they read the minutes, they know that, hey,
One of the biggest ones too for us in going around and advocating on behalf of the project is showing that the citizens of Seward are also taking the brunt. We're not just passing the buck and waiting around to see what happens. We're paying these rates, and they're gonna be some of the highest in the state at the point that this is all finished. And so we need to be able to demonstrably show we have incredibly high rates compared to, not unreasonable, because we'll show them the financing and what we'll need to generate the revenues to pay for our bonding. But that's some of the leverage points we get in looking at points with the legislature or federal funders to try and secure grants and other things, is that we're taking on this burden, we're taking bites out of the apple as we can, but it is up there. This is high.
Well, and I think other things that we have to remember as council people when people ask us is what construction costs did after COVID.
Yes.
Right, when this project was first talked about, and now what the numbers are actually coming back to be. So, we can just only hope, that we get a lot of bidders and stuff on these projects and, try to find some savings somewhere.
I sat with the mayor at the legislature last year with his pile of books and studies that we had that outlined what the cost was pre-COVID. And, I mean, it's essentially doubled on us at this point. So, it is in everyone's interest to advocate, to try and work together, to try and find some funds for ourselves to help with a project like this.
I was fortunate enough to attend a meeting with Congressman Flood when he came through Seward, and both Administrator Butcher and Mayor Eichmeyer were there, and we made it very clear to Congressman Flood that this is a high priority for us to help provide whatever financial support is available to us from their office coming in. And that's just an example of the kind of work that we're doing to help defer some of these expenses as they come up.
We had a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? And this is for the, yeah, he's supposed to dispense the statutory rule. Please register your votes. Please display your votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coulterman, Singleton, Streisand, Warden, 6-0.
This is ordinance number 2024-19. Would anyone like to move that this ordinance be passed and adopted as read?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Please, any further discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall ordinance number 2024-19 be finally passed and adopted? Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coulterman, Singleton, Streisand, Warden, 6-0.
Alright, thank you. Item 10, consideration of an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan, providing for a 3% cost of living adjustment for all paid lines, and creating the child care director position for the wellness center, effective October 1, 2024. Greg.
I'll introduce the ordinance when you're ready. Go ahead.
Okay. This is our standard adjustment that we make after the approval of the budget. We're doing a cost of living adjustment at 3%. That was kind of the recommended one by the both included in the mayor's budget and then also through our standard review of the consumer price index and other measures in July. We're also adding the child care director position through this ordinance. That was generated by Executive Director Brazy and the city clerk. They worked well together in getting that up and running. We think it's comparable to the needs of the wellness center. And so we'll be able to go out and put this out for advertisement upon approval and then get started in that process. We want to get, if we're looking at a potential May opening, or not May opening, March opening, to allow for even the child care on site. With the child watch, we'll need to have some licensing and other things in place. And so we want the director coming in advance to get these things taken care of and get us prepped for the spring opening so that we can at least activate some of those things, and then they'll ultimately be in charge of the before and after school care programs. If we look to any sort of preschooling in the future, we're not looking for full daycare, but if we have any preschooling opportunity, which is pretty normal in facilities like this potentially, and then also helping with summer camps, that when school's out, looking to different summer camps and camp programs that we can utilize both in the sciences, arts, athletics, all kinds of other things. Utilizing the facility throughout the summer, they'd be in charge of that as well. So.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Would somebody introduce the?
Again, I'll introduce the resolution.
We have an ordinance this evening.
Ordinance.
An ordinance to provide for annual classification of officers and employees of the city of Seward, Nebraska, to create the child care director position, to provide for longevity pay and payment of part-time employees, to provide for a date such classification and pay ranges of compensation shall become effective, to provide for publication in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. The ordinance has been read by title. It is designated as ordinance number 2024-20, and the title is hereby approved. I need a motion to dispense with statutory rule. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Thomas, Coltrman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
This is ordinance number 2024-20. Would anyone like to move that this ordinance be passed and adopted
I
as
so
read?
move.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall ordinance number 2024-20 be finally passed and adopted? Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Thomas, Coltrman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Alright, thank you. I believe this is the last ordinance for this evening. I need one final motion to make all the ordinances a part of the permanent record.
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Thomas, Coltrman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Alright, thank you. Item 11, consideration of an agreement with Express Bill Pay for payment processing services for a term of 3 years and authorization to terminate services with Forte.
We're switching over as planned to Cassell. That will be our new accounting software, billing software, kind of all encompassing in one. We've been working on this since Nick Wolf was with us. It's just been a longer process. But Sydney is now taking this one on and pushed it through. Part of that is the preferred credit card processing system that is usually through Cassell's Express Bill Pay. And so this is just an agreement for us to get started with them, get things set up. We've given Forte notice. We don't think there'll be any issue with any crossover or needing to utilize one over the other, but this just gets us in order to move forward with that. The other thing I note in the agreement, if anybody were to make a motion on this, at the recommendation of Connor and Kelly, was to request that the choice of law in it would be in the state of Nebraska and not the state listed. So, yeah.
Any questions or comments from the council? So you entertain a motion.
Make a motion?
Second.
A motion to approve, correct? Jessica? motion
Yes.
to approve?
Motion to approve, yes.
Subject to the change.
Subject to the change.
Thank you. And a second.
Implied.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coachman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
You make our city attorney really nervous.
I'm
when you just
sorry.
leave it open-ended like that. I move.
I move, yes.
Item 12, consideration of a resolution adopting the revised Upper Big Blue NRD hazard mitigation plan. Greg.
Yeah, this is the hazard mitigation plan, developed by the NRD, in conjunction with DAO. A few of our council members, I think, at least sat in on some of the initial meetings on this for different representation. They did regional meetings at different counties and things like that make up our NRD area. And so we went back through, we'd identify, working with JEO and the NRD, we identified different hazards and things that we think are potential things that are going on. After that, we identify mitigation potential pursuant to each one. So for instance, we'd say flooding. Flooding is a well-known hazard in the Seward area in Seward County. So what sort of mitigation attempts or activities could we undertake to alleviate the burden that flooding causes? And so a very simple one would be like floodplain buyout. Go out and buy properties that are located in the floodplain, remove those structures from the floodplain, the damages never have to be covered, life, injury, and property is all not in harm anymore. So you go through and you work all of the different hazards, and then you come up with the potential mitigations. Some of them we had to reach on for a few. Other one, what kind of mitigation would you have for a large scale rail chemical spill? Well, other than training and some other things, it's not a ton of stuff that we could go out and do. Where flooding, tornadoes, blizzards,
I thought one that was really interesting was kind of like almost a terrorist attack on city facilities. Like if somebody wanted to ram in City Hall, like how would you prevent that from happening? So you could put like cement barriers in front of a building or something like that. Just things that you don't really think of,
We thought a bigger one when they were talking about those facilities is more likely our utility facilities.
Yeah. Certainly.
You're looking at things like substations, stuff like that. That's an easy target. It's away from known things a lot of the times, and so it's just we've seen that more and more as a commonality. But we identified those, and then we came up with as many as we could mitigation things. And then what you do is then you have the opportunity, if there are funds available at the state level, you apply for a hazard mitigation grant, and you can supply this book and say, this is an identified hazard, this is an identified mitigation goal, thus we've met their criteria to apply for these dollars, and then hopefully you would get funded. So the one we're working right now is the update to the pump station at the end of the levee on 10th Street. It's been quite the process, but that's how it went. We identified internal flooding as a problem pursuant to the levee. We identified updates to the pump station as a mitigation process, and then we applied for the grant. So I think that's it in a nutshell, and so we think they did a good job putting it together, and so we'll utilize this book to come up with future projects to apply for funds for and see what we can do. I will say right now, one of the big pushes that came through at the whole county is floodplain buyout. Apparently a bunch of money just became available at the state level, and so they specifically reached out to the city and identified parcels and said, if you're interested, let us know, because we have money specific for this. So we may be circling around quickly after this is adopted and then utilizing some of those funds that are very specific to flooding.
Reroute it to the sewer?
Nope, no, we're not rerouting any of that. So, sorry, unfortunately.
Good thought, though.
I know. We don't want it for that, but not me.
If we
It's all
want
water.
if
It's
we
all
want to
water.
increase the process of the
It's in a
sewer,
floodplain.
it isn't, but
Kidding.
so that's kind of the gist of it. We do it about every 5 years.
Something like that.
I think this is the second time I've done it.
But we had to go through, because there was stuff in the plan that probably was there for over 10 years. So we had to say, do we want to do this anymore? What priority is it? So we had to eliminate like a lot of things in there, add new things that popped up over the years. So we definitely went through it really closely and made sure it accurately represented where we're at with things.
We had hard, awkward conversations.
Got the department heads in there too and said, hey, how much would this cost to do that if we were to do that? What's the priority for you to do that kind of thing? So we wanted to involve all our people and make sure we had the best information possible.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Otherwise, I'd ask someone to introduce the resolution.
I'll introduce the resolution.
The resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2024-31. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coulterman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
Thank you. Item 13, consideration of approval of audit engagement letter with AMGL to conduct the city's annual audit. Greg?
Our standard engagement letter that we approve, to work with the NGL to get started on the audit, we've already gotten our dates and stuff lined up, and so Sydney, Julie and the crew will lead the efforts and go through the audit again, so. I can answer any questions you have, but we're good to go.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Kaler, Tanya, Coulterman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
All right, item 14, update on the Wellness Center. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Two areas up there are seeing a lot of things going on right now. I'll start with those. First one is the gym, and painting has finished, and so last week they started putting in the overhead equipment. So we started with the baskets and the standards hanging down. By the end of last week, they should have been done with that, and then switched to the equipment that will hold the curtains. And so all of that is getting done, and that will continue on. Then they'll go back and attach some other items, but everything is being done up at the ceiling, and that will go through late October, is when the completion of the overhead equipment. They're making a lot of progress with that. And then early November, they will start the beginning phases of the floor. So there's several layers that will go on, and a long process before they get the actual wood floor on there. But the base layer for the court and the track are exactly the same. There's some plywood, there's some foam, there's some more plywood, and just to put underneath that floor. So that you can really see a lot of progress in that area. The other area is the pool, and so they've been done for at least a week with the pour and shooting of the interior of the pool, and of the current channel. That is all done. And so what they are working on now is water curing of that, and I think that process is going well. They'll continue to work on some piping with the pool, and then they will get to backfilling it, and then setting the last precast wall, and then they'll pour the pool deck once they get done with all the items underneath there. I honestly don't know, and I'm interested to see how they do they set the last precast wall, and on their schedule they have pouring of the pool deck after that. So I'm not sure exactly how that will work, but that's on their schedule. So obviously they know what they're doing, but that continues to be on schedule. No hiccups with those two areas, but that's where most of the updates, the action is happening right now. The other areas, fitness studio and classrooms, those continue to progress, but just not as noticeable of things. Drywall just continues to go, some finishing work. There's some areas where they're doing casework, where the front desk, items like that, where there's noticeable things every time, but just not as impressive of things as the pool and the gym. But that continues to go well. And in those areas, flooring will begin putting in at the beginning of November. And so the reason there's not as much craziness going on there is because the items on that list are getting pretty short on those two areas. And when those get done, they put the flooring in, those areas will be done. And so there's not many items left on those checklists. The boulevard parking lot have been done for a while. Lights were installed in the parking lot. They are not hooked up, but they are there ready. They're still working on temp electrical power out there, so they won't do the light poles until we're off of that temp, so everything is on schedule with that. Next up, soon we should see light poles on the boulevard, and they're finishing sidewalks, entryways. They did start last week pouring the front entryway, the exterior, and the flower bed and bollards were put in place, and so it's really taking shape in front. If you happen to drive down the boulevard, you would be able to see it. It's really looking good, the front area. That we'll find out next week how far they are and when the perforated metal screen and that front part will be done. But all of it is scheduled to be done at the end of October, beginning of November. So that front entryway. And so we're getting down to it where a lot of items are getting finished up, and it's starting to look more and more like a finished project. So that is really exciting, because we're looking at March, April, we're in 6-month window. So it is continues to go well. We will start on-site and landscaping. We will have a sprinkler system installed soon, and also look at a well up there that will eventually, all of the sprinkler system will use that well. And so that process is ongoing right now, working through that, but that is what's going on up there, and there'll be some sod put around the building, and the rest will be kind of seeded in some natural grass. But that will, there'll be a lot that gets done before it gets too cold. Things continue to go really well up there, and just excited every time we get up there and see it. On the programming side, one of the next steps that I'm meeting with Adam Bodie about is building out our programming. We have a lot of ideas and brainstorming, but we're looking at the software that we will use that will cover everything up there, the rec department and the wellness center. There's a lot of good products out there that he's familiar with and he's looking into. We're getting demos of, they can handle everything with the child care side of it, billing, everything with the memberships. And then so we'll continue to build out our programming and bring that forward to you in short time. Any questions?
Thank you, Joel. If there's no questions or comments from the council, we can move on. Next, we have the city administrator's report.
The two big things for me was finishing out the budget, and then we moved right into eval. So we started the process of doing all the evals, setting up the goals for the next period for all employees, and me specifically working with most of the department heads. Trying to get a few of those finished up, so I was out of commission with some old back injury issues, so.
You're doing better?
Nope,
No?
nope,
Okay.
so continuing to work through it, but yeah, it's,
Trust the process.
yeah. So, pretty sure it's a pretty nice pinched nerve, so I've had feeling in this finger for
That's what happens when you get old.
2 weeks. That's what they tell me. This is happening really fast. So, but we'll continue to work through that, but thanks to my crew and everybody for being flexible on some of that stuff, but that was probably the majority of what we're working on, and then just getting transitioned into the new fiscal year, rounding up these items here tonight, and then working on some economic development stuff. So, answer any questions you have about the report?
Move proof.
Is a motion and a second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Taylor, Tanya, Shelburne, Singleton, Chester, Morgan, 6-0.
Are there any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action? Seeing none, do we have announcement of upcoming events?
Jonathan is not here, do you have anything?
Not off the top of my head. He thought he was just gonna be a little late, so he didn't send us something, so.
There's nothing happening in
Biggest thing is the
Seward
Christmas
for-
festival.
Yeah, the
Oh, the
Christmas festival on the
Christmas
30th.
festival is the weekend
We
after
had a laundry list at our meeting this morning.
Thanksgiving and,
You would like to share that with
I
us?
don't remember any.
there's that upcoming, like, able to farm to
That was-
table?
That was already over.
That's
Oh,
done.
okay, I missed that, sorry.
I'm sure there's a lot of
It's on my
open
kid's
houses
birthday, that's how I
coming in.
remember.
Oh, some open houses.
With holidays.
So check the
stuff.
Seward paper tomorrow. and see-
Seward 5th and 6th graders will be playing York this Sunday here in Seward.
Okay, I already write it down.
You want me to find
Yeah, what's
stuff?
happening?
I can read to you out of here.
There'll be a Seward
Kevin
Fourth,
doesn't want you giving away
Seward
his
4th
content.
of July meeting on, October 17th at 7 PM at the National Guard Museum,
Alright, there you
Go.
go.
so.
So with that, do
Uh,
we have a strategy session?
We do. So I will move that the city council go into closed session with the mayor, the city administrator, the city clerk, and the city attorney for the protection of the public interest and to discuss real estate interests at the Seward Rail Campus and provide the city attorney with negotiating guidance for a period not to exceed 30 minutes.
Here we have a motion, is there a second? Motion and a second, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Taylor, Tanya, Coulterman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 6-0.
The council is voted to go into closed session at 7:51 PM for the protection of the public interest and to discuss real estate interests at the Seward Rail Campus and to provide the city attorney with negotiating guidance. No formal action will be taken. We are in closed session.